The newest release of Pokemon is here with Pokemon Legends ZA, taking us back to Kalos in the future. Every new game in the Pokemon franchise is waited on with bated breath from the Pokemon community. However, this game has seen some of the most animosity when it comes to should you buy the game or not. What's good, Chaotic Nation? It's your boy Chaos here, and I've heard a lot of conversations about should you buy Legends ZA or is any game worth 70 bucks? I decided to give my thoughts on this game to help answer these questions and to provide feedback about the game. Whether you've purchased ZA or not, this video will be a good guide on what you can appreciate about ZA and what could be better and fixed in future games in the Pokemon series. Since this is a video about a new game, I will say that there will be spoilers about Legends ZA, as I will be covering elements of the game, including the story. If you aren't wanting the game to be spoiled for you, I recommend saving this video in your watch later feature and coming back to it once you have completed the game. You've been warned, so don't come crying to me if you get spoiled on something. I'm going to start with the main story of the game, since that is why we play Pokemon in the first place. The story of ZA completely takes place in Lumio City, which is something we'll talk about later. The player meets their rival as soon as they enter the city, and they sort of teach you the ropes about what's going on in the town. You get a starter and one of the best reasons to grab a starter Pokemon in the entire franchise. And while I'm not going to break down this entire story of Legends ZA, I want to pull out some of these main elements and some of these really cool features that I found to be my favorite parts of the story. This is why I'm mentioning this part about the starters, because I think it's a really cool way to introduce you to getting your starter Pokemon. The game shifts into learning about Mega Evolution and setting the goal to become the best Mega Evolution user by competing in the ZA tournament and reaching the rank of A. During the nights, battle areas activate so you have a chance to earn a promotion ticket where the winner gets promoted to the next rank. This is how we generally progress in the game. The story progresses through the daytime where you learn about wild areas, you gain access to research tasks, and you meet a host of new characters. Occasional battles do happen, but the main point is completing your Pokédex in the wild areas and completing research tasks while you wait to pummel opponents in the Royale. That's pretty much the cycle until you reach rank V. At main mission 9, you finally meet 10% Zygarde, and we begin a new phase, Rogue Mega Evolution. Quasartico acknowledges your feat, beating your first ever Rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon, and they begin to assign you and your companions in Team MZ to help them quell the Rogue Megas. But first, they test you in a promotion match where you jump all the way up from rank V to rank F, skipping the monotony of grinding 25 promotion matches. This is also where AZ will give you the Mega Ring and a stone for your starter so you can start using Mega Evolution. You'll go around defeating Rogue Megas and collect their Mega Stones during the day, and at night, it's back to the ZA Royale. The update to the ZA Royale becomes the introduction into new characters that represent different factions around Lumio City. Each faction has a boss and a lieutenant, which have unique typings, mimicking gym leaders in the main series games. They become your promotion matches, but they will only battle you after you have completed their quest or their challenge. Once you have made it to rank A, the city will fall into great peril. You've learned throughout the story that Prism Tower has another one of AZ's machines named Agni, which begins spilling out Mega Energy across the city. This energy causes mass rogue Mega Evolutions throughout the city, requiring you to work with all of the factions to work together to stop the tower from destroying the city. Your rival will enter Prism Tower with Mega Floette to quell Agni, while you meet up with Zygarde. After obtaining Zygarde, you will have to fight the tower which was stopped by your rival. With the power of Mega Zygarde, you are able to stop Catastrophe. Before we move on to the post-game, we get a rare occurrence for the Pokemon series in the death of AZ. After 3,000 years, he finally passes away as his last machine is quelled, and he gives up his Floette to your rival. It's a great finale to a very interesting character that his journey is finally over after his last machine is finished. Postgame involves beating the newly created Infinite ZA Royale 15 times until you beat your rival, which rewards you with Eternal Floette and Floettite. You also meet Lysander at Hotel ZA, who puts you on track to find Xerneas and Yveltal, which you're required to catch. After completing all of the other storylines, you'll have a battle with Lysander at Hotel ZA, and then be quested with defeating 3 forms of Zygarde before it officially will join your team. Overall, the story of the game is one of the best in the Pokemon franchise. The utilization of the battling really gets you to become the protagonist of your own story. They once again create a great story here in the Pokemon franchise, and it is a game that has a great storyline that is well worth the playthrough. Pokemon is always delivered with the character designs, and this is another great installment. The characters feel like they actually would live in Lumio City, and they have been designed with great ties to their previous character counterparts. The faction leaders and lieutenants fit the vibe of their typings, which make for really good character design. Again, another great set of supporting characters for your journey throughout Kalos, and ones that make pretty memorable characters for you to remember and enjoy throughout your playthrough. Of course, we have to talk about the first inclusion of Megas since Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Every set of Mega Evolutions have some really good ones and some really questionable ones. I really feel like they focused on the story Mega Evolutions and kind of forgot about the other ones. It was always hype when you got to see a character show off a new Mega form that you hadn't seen before. I think this is the best use of Mega Evolutions in a Pokemon game because we do actually get to see Mega Evolutions on every major character's team instead of what they did with the previous games where Megas really weren't used against you at all. It was kind of just a feature that the player got to use against their opponents. Even the ZA Royale trainers can Mega Evolve, which really does fit into how Megas are included in the game and as part of the central theme of the game, including Mega Evolution as the major point of battle. As for unlocking Megas, I was a bit disappointed that there are some Megas that I really wanted to use that were not available until the very end of the game. I switched my team many times trying to try out some of the newer ones, trying to use some of the old ones, and it was just inconsistent about when I could pick up their Mega Stones throughout the game. There were some Pokemon that I didn't even get to have their Mega Stones until after I'd already beaten the main storyline, which meant that I didn't really use them on my team. I think getting them after defeating the Rogue Mega Evolutions were great as part of the storyline. Getting them from Quasartico wasn't the greatest thing, because we still had to collect Mega Shards around the city, but I didn't hate that feature of the game. I just think it was a little bit annoying, and you definitely could get the ones that you wanted to get early and not have to worry about the ones that you weren't using for your team. I'm really glad that they showed Gen 5 some love with the Mega Evolutions, but I did want to see more Kalos originals getting Mega Evolutions since Mega Evolution originated in the Kalos region, and it just feels like they should pay more homage to the original games and their Pokemon to get Mega Evolutions. I understand this doesn't work really with like theory crafting and why are there suddenly Mega Stones for these Pokemon that we've seen in Kalos, but again, they didn't really touch on that in the game too much, just that some time has passed and we found access to these stones and these Pokemon now can Mega Evolve. The battling is completely different in Pokemon ZA. Being able to move your Pokemon around in battle really gives us that anime feeling in your own battling. It may not be responsive as we want it to be, but I still think it's incredibly fun. There are so many strategies to use to avoid hits. Moves have really cool effects too in the game. The AoE attacks and setting hazards are incredibly fun to use during the tournament. Strategy and competitive battles also reinvigorate how trainers can battle online. It's not a perfect system, but the battling is incredibly fun, and with all these new features, including moves that have different effects now that they are used in this live battling situation instead of through a menu that is based on speed, does impact this game and make it a really cool way to actually battle Pokemon in a Pokemon game. For the ZA Royale, I think they implemented battling well. You don't really have to fight a certain amount of trainers to get the challenge ticket, but you can complete these different challenges that you can find to get points faster. The sneak up mechanic doesn't work well, and I mean, it does, but it's kind of funny that you can still run around the map and still get a sneak attack on your opponent. During the Infinite ZA Royale, trainers get boring with some of the same mons, but it does feel fresh during the story. One of the things I would improve upon is creating multiple different kinds of teams to have to battle in the post game, because it again, just gets monotonous and boring, facing the same trainers with the same Pokemon, and you kind of know what they're going to use after a certain period of time. The quest system returns from Legends Arceus. Many people will say there are 3 types of quests in Legends ZA. 1. Battle a trainer. 2. Watch many cutscenes and maybe battle a trainer or do something else. 3. Guide or chase a Pokemon somewhere in the map. While I can't dispute that you can reduce the quest down to that, I think we have to look at them from a slightly different lens. Instead of teaching you how to play Pokemon for hours, these side quests are how you learn about the different battle mechanics in Pokemon. Sure, there is still the introductory period about teaching you how to play the game and how to battle and storyline and stuff we already know if we've played Pokemon before, but this is a great way to get those other things about battling as supplementary features in the game. These quests showcase status conditions, different types of moves, requiring you to get Pokemon you may not be using in your playthrough and catching unique mons, solo running a game, trying to beat a challenge with a specific Pokemon, and many other things. They never really felt out of place to me, and I enjoyed completing each one. I also like how you can chain together multiple quests. My favorite chain that I almost made a video on involves using Pikachu. You can chain Quest 34 to get the TM for Reflect to help beat the world's greatest Pikachu in Quest 107, then evolve your Pikachu into Raichu to take on Alolan Raichu in Quest 108. I think that these quests do a great job of helping you complete your decks and helping you explore Lumio City, and it's a really good side feature of the game. I don't get why they get so much hate. Also, if you don't like them, there are just side quests, and they're not required to complete the game, so you really don't have to do them if you don't want to. The main fear of many fans was having the game limited to Lumio City. Many people will say that you can explore most of the map in 5 minutes, and sure, it's not the biggest Pokemon map we've ever had, but we also don't have mechanics that give us movement speed like we've had in previous games. I think they did well with the limitations of the city. I like to subscribe to the idea that limitation breeds creativity, and I think they did well making Lumios feel like a complete map. Most wild areas feel unique. The first few were kind of similar, but they did a good job of diversifying them as you unlock them. I do feel like the ice area is out of place given that we are in the middle of a city, but I also want ice types to be available in the game, so I'm not too bothered by it. I feel like the wild zones were a lot more limited because they are in a city. There's not a lot of mons in each area besides Area 20, which feels the most complete to me. I wish there was about 10 to 15 Pokemon in each area, but I also wish they were a bit bigger, especially for the ones that are those 5 circle plazas on the map. I also wish the ones that are close to each other would be merged into one area. I think they could have done well with about 16 zones total and merge a few of those smaller zones together to get a more complete wild area in the city. Alright, it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, the graphics. Since Sword and Shield, Pokemon fans have been talking about how bad the graphics are for Pokemon games. Many people will compare them to the beauty of new Pokemon Snap. I agree, that game looks great, but modern Pokemon games cannot look like that since there is an exploration element in mainline Pokemon games. The other element of Pokemon games is that we aren't playing them for the graphics. If you are, you're playing the wrong game. What is important with the graphics in Pokemon games is that you are immersed enough in the game that you are playing that you don't break out of the world by looking at some part of the game. I've never had an issue with the graphics taking me out of the experience of playing Legends ZA. I know that some people will complain that the walls of the buildings are essentially wallpaper, and yes, that does have to be a part of the game based on the limited graphic capability of an exploring game like this. I know that also a lot of people think things are cut and paste and put back together. That is a tactic that a lot of companies use to minimize the effort on rendering 100 different buildings that don't really matter within the game. I think they are fine. I don't find any trouble with what they have done. I think the game still is immersive enough that you don't get distracted by what's going on with the graphics to break out of what you're doing in the game. What I will say about the graphics is that the game makes great use of the color available on the Switch's hardware, and the frame rate is much improved from Scarlet and Violet. I noticed some lag, but it was fixed with the console settings during docked playing sessions. Most of the game that I played was in handheld mode, and you didn't notice those lags. I really only started to notice it when I started streaming the game, and that's because my settings were messed up. If you are experiencing lag, I would adjust your Switch settings because the game does run really smoothly. Another big point of this game is the disappointment in the game's audio. Legends ZA recycles a lot of sound, which makes sense because it wants to connect X and Y and other Pokemon games in the past. I do realize that there was a lot of reused Kalos themes, but that will happen in what is a spiritual successor to a previous game. I never thought the themes in Legends ZA were boring or unoriginal. They weren't super inspiring like other major titles, but they are a good fit for Pokemon, and especially this game, which does take a lot of inspiration from a specific area in Kalos. I don't think their reuse of themes are overbearing, and I feel like they really add to this atmosphere of this game. For instance, Hotel ZA uses a terrible past, or what's more commonly known as AZ's theme, while being in cutscenes, which fits incredibly well in the background for the looming demise that happens in the main story. I like how well the music does complete the atmosphere. We also have to recognize that we are familiar with many of the Lumio sounds because of the iconic story points that happen in Lumio City and X and Y. I feel like this game is a good use of the previous IP to make a succinct game that feels like you are still in the Kalos region. Another issue that has been brought up is the lack of voice acting. Many people have wanted voice acting for major cutscenes like Volo's breakdown in Legends Arceus. I do think it can help with some parts of the game, but I don't think that's really the direction that they want to take for Pokemon. Hiring voice actors costs money to produce, and quality voice actors are not going to be cheap. What could be cool is having Pokemon creators to voice act for games, because we would love to do it. Back to my point though, I don't think that's the direction for Pokemon, because it does cost money, and Pokemon can't be bothered to spend money to make games quality. All jokes aside, from the beginning, Pokemon has been a text-based game since its origin. Sure, there have been massive changes in technology since the start of Pokemon, but voice acting would likely slow down the overall pacing of the game. Think about how many times you're mashing the A button through dialogue and you're skipping over somebody's voice at that point. If you had to listen to them talk, it would really slow down the game. I do know that there are people that want voice acting to complement the Pokemon voices that are in the game. I've seen many videos and conversations about it. I think that part of the charm of these games not having voice acting is you get to choose the person's voice that you hear in your head. The characters sound like you would want them to sound. You get to make their own voices. You get to hear how they would sound when they are talking to you. And I think that's one of the unrated gems and underappreciated gems of the Pokemon franchise. I have no problems with voice acting in games, but for a series that has never jumped to voice acting, I just think it works better to be a text-based game, rather than trying to fit in voice actors, which would just overall make this game clunky and slow down. So we're back to my original question. Is Legends ZA worth $70? In my opinion, that depends on what is important to you. If you're looking for a game of the year quality, or if you want innovative features, you probably need to play something else. Pokemon isn't a company that's focused on graphics. They're more about updating their IP and creating games with good enough stories to capture their audiences. They make improvements by adding new layers to their mechanics that spice up the games. ZA is like that. They reintroduced Mega Evolution, which gives the game new Mega Pokemon. The battling is revolutionary to make the game feel even more like a modern RPG. Pokemon is making improvements, but they are not keeping up with the quality of other games that are being put out because they don't have to compete with them. Pokemon is the definitive monster catching franchise. They can slap $50 on a game just for having Pokemon IP present. We also can look at our community. Most of us watching this video are going to buy a Pokemon game because it's a Pokemon game. We grew up with it and we enjoy the new stories that enrich the Pokemon world. To me, that's enough to justify the $70. Many of us are questioning the $70 because it's an uptick in the gaming market. The better question, maybe for this video, is are video games worth $70? It's no surprise that inflation has a major factor in the increase in video game prices. If we're being honest, $70 has been a buying point that we've been holding off for many years. Many of us remember the joy of getting a new game because they were expensive for the economy of our youth. But times have changed. Video gaming is a mainstream part of society, and it makes sense that companies have made games more available to get their products off the shelves and into your homes. With the amount of work that it takes to make a modern game, I'm sure they're well worth this new price tag and maybe even a bit more. Ultimately, the cost of the game comes down to the entertainment value you get from the game you're playing. I usually say that I want an hour of gameplay for every dollar that I spend on a game. That's the equivalent of asking the game to be 70 hours long, which is fairly ridiculous. Instead, I look for games that have a replayability factor, or something that I can pick up again and enjoy almost as much as the first time I played the game. I don't think Legends ZA is as replayable as most of the mainline Pokemon games, but I do think it is way more replayable than Legends Arceus, which is an improvement in my book. Legends ZA is worth $70 in my opinion. In fact, I already bought the DLC, which I'm sure will be overpriced for the amount of gameplay that we get from it. But I bought it because Pokemon is a franchise I love, and I want to play the newest Pokemon game regardless of the flaws it will have, because every game will have flaws. There are always going to be games that are more put together and have better qualities than Pokemon games, but I play them for the Pokemon, for the stories, for the Pokemon universe that has existed since my childhood and now extends well into my adult life. So should you buy Legends ZA? Well, that's a personal choice you have to make. I've laid out a lot of what this game does well and what the game does poorly, but it's up to you to decide if you want to spend the money to buy the game to enjoy, or, as we so often do, to buy the game so we can complain about it. Either way, I hope this video has shed light on Legends ZA to help you decide if you are going to buy this game, or if you want to have a new appreciation for what this game does do in the Pokemon franchise. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your opinions about Legends ZA. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel and to keep up on my future content. You can even become a member to support me financially. I hope you join me on my other platforms also to catch a stream or engage in conversations with the community. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, I'm Chaos, signing off. Stay safe, and as always, burn it up.